Thanks so much,
Okay,
Edwin.
thanks.
Thank
Sorry, I couldn't stay longer.
I just need to jump in because I have to go also.
Yeah,
I wanna
and
thank you, Edwin, but thank everybody for a really thoughtful, productive, respectful, useful process. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Monty.
Edwin. Thanks, Monty.
thank you. And I just want to acknowledge that we are at the top of the hour. If anyone is willing to stay another 15 minutes, I think we can get through both lists, but I also really understand if people can't. So is there anyone who wants to stay on for 10 or 15 more minutes? If I could see, okay. Thank you. Okay. So, Alan, okay, thank you for letting us know that you're going to need to go. Where were we? I think we're really close to the end. What I'm seeing, so I think that last one was Nick. So I think we're on Quinn.
Yep. All right, so now we're on.
I think we're down to the concerns about both and potential solutions.
Okay. We already talked about drawing local energy away.
I think it came up, but I don't think it was expressed with as much concern as it was expressed in our group. There were people who were saying that some people are not participating right here, right now, today, because they see it as a distraction from the urgency of the on-the-ground work. Okay. So I just wanted to just bring that out, because when I heard it, my heart went, oh, right? And so that's just a concern about both of these, and not that there's anything we can do about it, but just to say that it was really shared. So, yeah.
Okay, so should we have a show of hands to about who is concerned about all of this process taking up resources and wanting to find a way to minimize resources being taken up by this process and to focus on actually fighting the climate crisis? Any concerns about that?
Nick, you first.
Okay. I agree with that, with the caveat that it's really important to have a functioning regional and national structure so that everyone feels comfortable that the movement is progressing in a way that is representative and efficient.
Yeah. Is somebody writing this down? There's a final notes here. Oh, yes. Thank you. Somebody is writing this down. Yeah, and I just have a caveat that I think that if we do this in a I think that if we do this in a careful and caring way, I think that this can be an educational process for all of us, which is really beneficial. So yeah, I don't want to take resources away from anything else, and at the same time, it's important to me that we do this in a way that we can really be putting our principles in action. Okay, so Nick?
Yes, there was concern in our group over the transparency or lack thereof of finances in the first proposal, and the second proposal doesn't go much into detail on finances. But we think there should be consideration of national finances being dispersed to different local and regional groups based on needs, and less concentration of the money in national hands.
Okay. And I see lots of support for that. Cool. Nick, over to you. I mean, Quinn, over to you.
Yeah. Our next point is that, well, that goes back to the self-organizing system here, but more broadly to both proposals, where there was something lacking in both proposals about how meetings would be run, like what we were doing in the People's Assembly, helping make sure that everyone is heard. Would like specifics about how meetings themselves are organized / structured to ensure diversity of voices. So to me, that sounds like kind of going back to the self-organizing system for the second one, where like how exactly would that work, and could there be links to that, so we can talk about that again.
Yeah, I, I just want to add to that I love the self-organizing system, and the self-organizing system doesn't yet include a lot of opportunity for using reflection and active listening to help people be heard. So I was hearing the person in our group specifically say that they were appreciating this process and wanted to do something to make sure that in meetings in general, people would feel heard. So.
Okay, so do we have a show of hands for that point?
Yep.
Concerns about that? Okay, Nick, over to you.
I think we're getting through most of ours. One thing we talked about a little bit is it's not necessarily possible for a lot of these indigenous and frontline groups to participate wholly in organizing with XR. So perhaps having some sort of advisory role, or like not necessarily board of directors, but voices from marginalized and frontline communities somehow having a way to communicate their needs and concerns and all that stuff to the XR movement here in the States, the so-called States. Yeah.
So having an advisory board, and I missed the second part of that. The function of the advisory board would be?
Just so that there's a tool so that these typically marginalized and frontline communities and indigenous voices can communicate concerns and needs and any goals they have for us, or ideas on how we can best support them.
Cool. Well, this is amazing. I think we made it through all of the major points. I think that there were a couple of things that we said we would come back to, and I'm not remembering what they are right now. Does anybody remember?
I believe we said that we'd come back to one of our concerns, which was the question of, well, actually, we did kind of settle that by saying we want to explore the prospect of sortition. So we did kind of come back to that already.
Yes, and there was another thing that it seemed like we were going into a lot of detail, and I kind of pulled us back from and said, let's just get through all of this.
Oh, the self-organizing system. I think we did that with.
Yeah.
I think we maybe wanted to talk about the lack of resources for some groups to participate in kind of a decentralized regional model.
Oh, I don't think we got that. I don't think we have that in the notes.
Okay.
So we have here, there was support for regional and also concern about this becoming too much time and effort to manage, and some groups may not have resources to participate in regional. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we had mentioned in our group that it could end up that only the largest, most developed XR groups, so like New York City, Boston, DC, would basically run the Northeast, and then the Midwest would be kind of less staffed, I guess. Virginia.
So I just add a focus then for national could be building up regions that have less activity.
Sure. I'm starting to create a little summarized version here where it's no longer group 1, group 2, et cetera, but just the points themselves. Starting with 1, there was support for regional and also a concern, maybe put A here, support for regional and also concern for regional level of organization, and also a concern about this becoming too much time and effort to manage. Some groups may not have resources to participate in regional, so possible solution is having the focus of the national be to help smaller regional areas grow. And then, so this is just a copy of what was ahead. So it's still the which ones came from which, but kind of as a summary. National group should not be in charge or being seen as in charge of local groups, general agreement of this. And then we like that in second proposal, national positions can be both, I'm just going to put are elected, and can be recalled, and not self-appointed. Okay, and then concern, so there were a couple of concerns here. At some point, people were talking about more specificity around the recall stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then concern on agreement on appointed, but how much support for certification versus representation. Okay, so that needs to be determined. Then, okay, I think I'm tired, so I would,
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point it would make sense to take these and kind of cluster them by themes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of run out of steam for that at the moment. Plus it is approaching our time that we said. And so I'm hoping that we have enough of a robust document here that it can be, you know, especially if we keep this one, you know, it's really easy on Google Docs to make a copy of something. So we keep this and then make a copy of it and use that copy to create some kind of synthesis document. And then we can always go back to the original and make sure how accurate it is. Plus we can send the synthesis out to whoever was part of this to get their direct feedback on the synthesis. So what do people think about that way of proceeding? Okay, cool. Well, shall we have a real simple checkout? Just anybody, some parting words about how this was, or we can do a formal evaluation later. We can have a document where we're like, what did you like? What did you not like, etc. But just like a few closing words. And Amanda is saying goodbye. Thank you, Amanda. So who'd like to go first with closing?
I can go first. I'd like to thank everyone for showing up and taking part in this. I mean, this has been great, and I think it's shown that bringing everyone in that wants to take part and having them discuss in these small groups and make sure that everyone is heard, and then bringing it back into a larger group, that process works. And I'm glad to have seen that work, and I hope that we can continue using this model in the future with refining it, with seeing what we can see what exactly in this process worked. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to using this in the future, and I'm looking forward to sharing our feedback with National.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Quinn.
I can go next. My name's Nancy, by the way. I see it just says my initials, but I'm impressed with what I heard and also feel like I have some catch up to do, but lots of good things to think about, and I'm glad that we're doing this.
Yay, thank you so much, Nancy. William, would you be willing to go next?
Yeah, sure. This is a very cool thing. This is the first time like being this kind of a thing, and it was very cool. And I hope to see this happen in the future. And I'm glad that we did this work together. Thanks.
Thank you for being here. Virginia, would you be willing to go next?
Yeah, I want to thank the newly formed assemblies group for putting this together and soliciting involvement from everyone. I think that this is, I'm excited to see where this goes forward, and I'm feeling really good about what we're doing in this group to really, build a movement in a way that brings everyone along. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Nick, I'm going to let you have the last word. I'm going to check out here and say I am excited. This was a test run and a useful topic, and I'm just really, really thankful and grateful for everyone who turned up. And yeah, I'm just so excited that we could, really explore this issue in this way. So thank you.
All right. Firstly, I'd just like to say thanks to Rosa. You've been so helpful in this whole process, and we are so appreciative to have your wisdom in this process and everything. And I think this has been a really successful first run at a People's Assembly. So I'm really happy right now. This has been great. I think we did everything we wanted to today. So yeah, just great job to everyone who came. Hopefully we can get more participation as we go on and grow our facilitators team. And my cat wants to say hi.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm really appreciative of everyone who took part, and I'm really excited to see how we grow.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for staying a little after. It's been really great that we were able to complete, and looking forward to connecting with everyone again.
Thank you all.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Good evening.
Bye. Thank you.
Good night.
Quinn, it was fun planning this with you.
Yeah, was great to think through how to run assembly like this, and then for it to work out so successfully. So yeah, thank you, and hopefully you can join us in planning future assemblies as well.
Yeah. Just to say to you two that I'm going to be heading out of